Alright everyone, now it's time to talk about BetoORourke, Robert Francis, BetoORourke. He's got many monikers here. He's running 6 or 7 points behind Greg Abbott. They keep trying to astroturf him. The Lincoln Project has now made it their minor obsession to talk about Texas in the wake of course, power problems there, insisting that Beto would do a better job. I'm not sure how. Would it be by dismantling all the fossil fuel industry in Texas? Destroying the border wall, that he literally suggested that a couple years ago. Is disarming the population of Texas going to solve the problem of rolling blackouts as the result of extremely hot weather? By the way, you get blackouts in California. I noticed that those are never mentioned by these same contemporary individuals. Anyway, he's taken up an inverted Liz Cheney strategy. Liz Cheney in Wyoming is at least 20 and probably closer to 30 points behind Hageman. She will lose her job, by the way, in 4 short weeks. Next month is the primary. At that point, she becomes a lame duck. She becomes effectively powerless. It will be a stunning rebuke of her. She will come out and play the pity-me party and start talking about how she was unseated by the MAGA crazies. This will be funny because she'll be implicating most of the population of Wyoming, her old constituency. I wonder why they rejected you, Miss Piggy. Anyway, that's her strategy. She wants Democrats to pile aboard to vote for her. She's been literally campaigning to Democrats more than to her Republican constituents, leading to many very funny foibles and pieces of satire about Liz Cheney. Oh, I can't win in the party that I'm actually in the primary for. Let me beg people in the other party to cross lines and vote for me. Why? Why the fuck would they do that? And the Dems have their own primary, I think, anyway, they're going on, so the fuck are they going to take a Republican ballot for? You realize how many Wyoming ends, or whatever you'd call them, have to cross lines? Oh, yeah, only like 50, 100,000 of them in a state that sparsely populated. You realize how many voters Hageman leads by. Beto is doing something different. Of course, he's a far-left socialistic Democrat. He has wobbled back and forth in a flip-flop mode that would make John Kerry fucking sigh with relief for people perceiving him as being stalwart and unchanging, standing like a fucking wall. Beto, because before, yeah, hell yeah, we're going to take your guns. Now it's, oh no, I don't really have a problem with assault weapons. Well, kind of, sort of. I just want a tax on them or something. See, I'm running for the gubernatorial office. I realize that Texans like guns, so I'll tone it down a little bit. Before it was, we need to tear down this wall. It was almost like an attempt at a Ronald Reagan moment down at the southern border in El Paso there, I think it was. You remember that he had the competing rally with Trump back during the election, and Trump had something like 15, 20,000 people at his, and the legacy media astroturfed and gaslit and tried to claim that Beto had more people there. And then if you actually looked at the shots, it was a couple thousand people. It was much smaller. It was basically a dork festival. Now he's begging Republicans to cross the line to vote for him. Now, I don't know how good a strategy this is. You may turn off some Democratic voters there. And meanwhile, how many Republicans, how many never-Trumpers are in Texas? Not very many. There may be people who were disgruntled at some of the things Trump did. That does not mean that they're going to take a ballot and vote for BetoORourke. It just doesn't make sense. We're seeing this strategy crop up now several times in this particular midterm cycle. Liz Cheney, Beto, we see it in other states as well. There's really no evidence that it works. If anything, it works in reverse and actually fucks you further. When Beto is whining and dining the enemy. In a hyper-partisan climate, leftoids often believe that every Republican, anyone who has voted Republican at any time, regardless of their other inclinations or ideology, is effectively a worshiper of the devil and of Hitler at the same time. So when Beto comes out and says, well, please vote for me anyway, take the Dem ballot in this November, what do you think that does to the leftoids? What kind of sense do they have? Imagine that he ends up winning and part of his constituency is Republicans who cross the line. That may make the leftoids a little bit nervous, but I am here to tell you it won't work. In Beto's case, he will lose. Greg Abbott is ahead by a comfortable margin. There's no particular reason to... The margin hasn't really changed. It's effectively been completely linear now for months. Beto is not well-spoken. He's not well-liked among certain Democratic voting blocs. you're probably going to have depressed turnout among Democrats as opposed to Republicans in the midterm elections. And Texas is a state that had been becoming more of a swing state, but now it's swinging back in the other direction, especially among Hispanics in the southern counties. There's effectively no chance for Beto. There is no constituency he can compile, in my opinion, where he actually walks away with the gubernatorial slot. His heyday was almost kinda sorta beating Ted Cruz after having $100 million injected into his race against him. He came close and outspent his opponent many times over, and he still managed to lose, and that was at a point where the Republicans were weak. They were not in as strong a position the last time around as they are now. Currently, the Democrats are the ones being dragged down ballot. I still see so much cope posting. Well, the Democrats can still pull it off. Yeah, it's not a guarantee that we lose the House of Representatives. Yeah, the Republicans simply have to win all the races in which they are favored to win anyway in order to have a bigger majority than we currently have. But if we take every single toss-up state and we magically manage to take all the lean Republican states, we'll actually grow our majority in the House of Representatives. Nancy Pelosi coming out the other day, you probably saw that. I talked about it the other day on my stream. We have no intention of losing the House of Representatives. And she pointed out that we are fortified. Very interesting terminology. We've heard it before. I'm sorry, Nancy, but I don't think that you have enough clout in enough places now that defortification has occurred in a number of states and localities. Number one, with SCOTUS. Number two, knocking down your attempt at federalizing elections. That's a big one. And number three, with the economy in shitter shattered at the moment. It would be impossible for you to cobble together, I think, enough honk-honk ballots in order to actually overcome that. Nancy Pelosi will lose her majority role, which is good. Beto O'Rourke will not win. That is my prediction. We're getting too late in the game, I think, for him to make up for lost ground. I think people are even voting early now anyway already in some of these states. In Wyoming, Liz Cheney will definitely be losing her position come next month. That is a guarantee. Stacey Abrams is unlikely to win. In Pennsylvania, it doesn't really matter because, of course, Mehmet Oz, fuck him. So everything is lining up for all of these losers and morons to lose, and they're still in denial. If Beto O'Rourke really thought that he could win, with the coalition, the core coalition that he had built, would he be begging people from the other party to cross lines? No, that's a last resort. That's a Hail Mary style move politically. That's why Liz Cheney started doing it months ago. She's not even campaigning to the Republicans. She's counting on the tiny minority of Republicans in Wyoming that actually support her ass, which is 25-30% of them, plus some Democrats that cross the aisle in order to try to prop up a J6 figure. It's not going to work. It's an insurmountable gap between you and your opponent. Hageman's well over 50% in all of the polls, even with all the undecided voters still undecided. Well, they're not all going to break for Liz Cheney anyway, so what the fuck are you telling me? You'd still have a 10-point gap at that point, even if they all swung to you. And then, of course, you still have a turnout differential. MAGA Republicans are on fire right now. They're going apeshit. Neocons and never-Trumpers are being very solemn at the moment. Their turnout's not likely to be as high. They'll still turn out at normal levels in the partisan sense. But as far as for some of these neocon candidates, they'll lose their jobs. Excellent, by the way. You'll have stronger candidates as the result of this. Beto is being a cringe lord. This shouldn't surprise us. He tried to be cool by alluding to being a hacker back in the 1990s, which is laughable. Oh, you learned how to turn the screen upside down in Windows 95. Your mother was very impressed, Beto. Yes, everyone, all of your friends thought that you were a whiz kid with computers. Yeah, you learned how to bypass security on folders and shit. This is his idea of hacking, probably. And he's fucking skateboarding across the stage and doing weird, cringy, like midlife crisis shit. And literally, that's what this is. Beto O'Rourke is going through one of the all-time legendary midlife crises that I've ever seen. And if he loses here, it'd be funny. His wife says, well, you're a loser. Fuck you. I'm taking the kids and leaving. And you see him out in the front of his McMansion crying with a bottle in his hand. And then he goes and buys a Ferrari or something with some of the embezzled money from his last campaigns. That's the other thing. He realizes as long as he stays in the spotlight, hey, at least you get occasionally invited on CNN. And that impresses your stupid friends. That's about all. Peace out.